latest political brow-raiser is a lengthy article from CNN alleging a turf war between the Joe Biden and Kamala Harris camps. According to the article, Team Kamala is furious that Joe Biden is sidelining and constraining her politically and saddling her with thankless tasks doomed to damage her, like making her the proverbial czar of the US southern border. Team Biden is frustrated by Kamala's self-inflicted controversies and awkward public faux pas. It's a bit rich coming from the camp of the king of public faux pas himself, old sleepy Joe Biden. But they do have a point when you consider, for example, how Kamala responded when questioned in early June on why she had not yet visited the southern border that she was apparently in charge of.
Any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand.
Also, there was this supremely awkward moment when, in the lead-up to the 2020 election, talk show host Stephen Colbert asked her why she had agreed to be on Biden's ticket, even though she had accused him of racism in one of the debates.
It was a debate.
Not everybody landed punches like you did, though.
It was a debate.
So you don't mean it?
It was a debate. That the whole reason, literally, it was a debate. It was called a debate.
I understand.
Everyone traveled to the debate. There were journalists there covering the debate, where there would be a debate of differences of opinion and issues.
Okay. This now public Biden v. Harris rift really shouldn't come as a surprise. There has been speculation from before Joe Biden was sworn in as president that Kamala would eventually take the top job. Indeed, Kamala got a teeny taste of it yesterday when Joe Biden's powers officially transferred to her for 85 minutes while he was under anesthesia during a colonoscopy. Nevertheless, the White House responded to CNN's report via Press Secretary Jen Psaki. For anyone who needs to hear it, the Vice President is not only a vital partner to POTUS, but a bold leader who has taken on important, key challenges facing the country, from voting rights to addressing root causes of migration to expanding broadband. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. Now, this could possibly be put down to stock standard political gossip had it not been for Fox News Capitol Hill correspondent Chad Pergram. He claims there are indications Joe Biden could be considering asking Congress to replace Kamala Harris.
Now, here's a window into my world. As you know, I appreciate congressional process and mechanics. So I got a message recently from someone who knows Capitol Hill very well, and they suggested I should familiarize myself with the process to confirm a vacancy for the vice president in the Senate and in the House. To be clear, this is not something to say that something is afoot here, but I always do my homework, especially about process.
Now, if this does somehow come to fruition, perhaps sleepy, creepy Joe is smarter than he looks. See, Kamala Harris is arguably the least popular U.S. vice president in modern history. A recent USA Today-Suffolk University poll found her approval rating is at just 28%. That is 10 points lower than Joe Biden's approval rating from the same poll. And while sure, we must always take polls with a grain of salt, the trend is interesting. So why is she so unpopular? Well, if we're to believe comedian Jimmy Kimmel, it's everyone else's fault.
I think I know why Kamala's ratings are low, besides sexism and racism, which are the obvious ones.
Of course, we know that racism and sexism is not the reason Kamala is so disdained. since that would mean that all but 28% of Americans are racist and sexist. The reason Kamala Harris is tanking so badly and has proved so ineffective is because, quite frankly, she sucks. Kamala Harris has never been particularly beloved in a presidential sense. When she withdrew from the race for presidential nominee in December 2019, she was polling at only 3%. She's never been the people's choice. And no wonder, given her atrocious track record as a prosecutor in California, which was highlighted during a Democratic presidential nominee debate by a Congresswoman, Tulsi Gabbard.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Transgressions that look all the more egregious in light of how Kamala responded to the Kyle Rittenhouse acquittal yesterday.
The verdict really speaks for itself. As many of you know, I've spent a majority of my career working to make the criminal justice system more equitable, and clearly there's a lot more work to do.
Well, speaking of equity, it's really that concept that landed the US with Kamala Harris. See, Kamala was never the frontrunner to be number 2 on the Joe Biden ticket. The woman who was tipped to be the VP nominee was Senator Amy Klobuchar, who took herself out of contention, stating that Joe Biden should instead pick a woman of color, which, on a balance of experience and profile, really only left Kamala Harris, despite her relative lack of popularity and obvious deficit of political talent. And this is the problem with judging people by superficial characteristics like gender, race, sexual preference, and all the rest, rather than by their merits and the content of their character. And Joe Biden should have known that of all the times he has to cave to the progressives, picking the VP nominee should not be one of them. Now, as to who could replace Kamala Harris if it comes to it, I'd keep my eye on a certain former Secretary of State and First Lady who just can't accept a loss.